Well, hello, and welcome to our latest episode of Voices in Leadership. I am Melissa Andrews, President and CEO of EveryAge Virginia, and I am so excited to welcome a real dynamic duo to our podcast today from EveryAge, Syria and Aimee Reimann. Thank you, my dear friends and colleagues, for saying yes. I think you were railroaded into this a
Yeah, I'm
little
not
bit.
sure we said yes, but
Right.
yeah.
But you clicked on the link, so here you are. All right, so let's just start off with a little bit about each of you. So, Lee, you want to tell us kind of who you are and how you got where you are and why you stay?
Sure. Thanks, Melissa. I am Syria, and I'm the president and CEO of EveryAge. We used to be United Church Homes and Services, based in North Carolina, and have one community in Virginia as well. I've been with the organization for 25 years now. It's hard to believe. Feels like it was just yesterday that I began. But I stay really, I tell everybody the reason I've stayed as long as I have is because of the people and the connections I make with the residents that we serve, but also the team members that I get to work alongside of. So it's really the people is the reason for why I stay. I started with the organization in '97 as an HR manager at one of our CCRCs and have grown through the ranks over the years. I've served as the VP of Human Resources at our home office and then Chief Operating Officer, and then in 2012 became the CEO. So it's a little bit about how I've progressed. I'm sure you'll ask more questions in a little bit. I'll let Aimee introduce herself.
Okay. This could be a long story, but
Go for it. We've got time.
I serve as a chief operating officer, and I've been with Lee in the organization about 15 years. But why did I come to aging services? I think my undergraduate degree was in nutrition, so I thought I would try community nutrition and go to the hospital and then go work with old people. I mean, that was the term then. That's what I thought I was doing. So at 22, I was at the time I was the dietary manager because that was the language then. And I realized it was absolutely gratifying because you can make people really happy by the food you serve, or really mad, or really upset. I was like, oh, well, this is fun. Like, I really like this. So I did not have the life plan to do this, to come in to serve older adults, but I've been here ever since. And I have also in 15 years served at several roles as executive director of one of our retirement communities or life plan communities. And then I opened up one of our PACE programs and have been in this role, I don't know, 10 years or so, something like that.
Yeah, so I am fascinated, as I know many people are, by just what EveryAge has grown into being as an organization. So could you give an overview of all that you do under the EveryAge umbrella?
Sure. So we have three life plan communities, two in North Carolina and one in Virginia. And we also have seven affordable housing communities through the HUD 202 program. And those are across North Carolina. They're relatively small apartment communities ranging from 30 to 40 apartments, but we're able to serve 252 low income older adults within those communities. We have two programs of all-inclusive care for the elderly, or PACE, one in Lexington, North Carolina, and one in Wilmington. And then in Wilmington also, we operate an adult day health program. And then in Virginia, in connection with our life plan community up there, Lake Prince Woods, we have Lake Prince at Home, which is a Medicare certified home health and hospice agency. And then we have obviously our home office, which provides the management support to all of our communities. And then a foundation, which is a separate 501c3 that raises charitable support for our mission and our employees and our programs and benevolence.
So
a lot going on.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, how do you keep track of it? But how did you make the transition from your earlier name, your faith-based kind of traditional name of the company to EveryAge? What was that journey like?
Well, I think they attempted to do it one other time when I was here. We went from United Church retirement homes to United Church Homes and Services in the early 2000s. And at that time, I don't think our board was ready to let go of the denominational tie and connection right away. So finally, I think over time we've evolved, and there's been so many more examples of senior living organizations throughout our area and the country that have taken the leap of faith and changed the name. And, boards have realized you're not going to, disassociate completely with, your heritage and your faith roots. So our board embraced going through this journey, and it was about a year-long process where we worked with a creative agency to come up with names, and we had a committee of board members and leadership team members that kind of vetted the different names. And ultimately, we decided on EveryAge, and we get asked a lot, well, does that mean you're not gonna, you serve older adults, is that not gonna be your core mission? And it is, but in one program that I failed to mention when I was going through our services, we actually do have a child daycare center, kids only, at our Life Plan community in Thomasville, North Carolina. So technically we do serve birth to, older to over 100 years of age individuals. However, our core focus will continue to be on older adults and making life better. But the term EveryAge really comes from us embracing being a community made up of individuals of all ages, meaning our team members, the family caregivers, our volunteers, as well as the individuals that we serve, the older adults, who are all of varying ages coming together to make life better as you age and regardless of your age. So we've had to do a little bit explaining, but I think people understand it more when we really explain that, that it is about our community of all ages coming together for the purpose of making aging better.
And if you want to know how it happened, Lee locked us in a room for a year. And basically, that's how it really happened. She would bring us back every month. And it was,
let me tell you, we went through a lot of not so good names, and you can imagine anybody that's gone through that process, it's like, oh, are we ever going to get to a name? And the other thing is, because so many organizations have developed and changed their names, trying to come up with something that hasn't already been used, not only in the senior living sector, but, we were looking at hospitals and home care and hospice, there's technology companies serving older adults, making sure we weren't overlapping with those names. It gets a little bit hard to find. You almost have to develop a name that's wasn't a word to start with, or putting a couple words together.
Yeah, so, like leading age.
Yeah, like leading age.
So how do you kind of, you're just so diverse as an organization. How do you balance like the day-to-day, but also seeing what's around the next corner as you continue to build this incredible organization? And what's your leadership team culture like? I know from being around the two of you enough what your relationship is like, but how do you build what you've built, and what's kind of the leadership behind that and the culture behind that?
I think one of the things for us is we have very stable leadership, thankfully, at all of the communities. And so that has been that way for a long time. So that has enabled us to focus on growth and other initiatives, because everyone at the location, they know what they're doing. And, occasionally there are things that go on every day, but occasionally, we need to provide support and assistance, but really it's because of the people in the field that we're able to focus on bigger picture and moving forward. So I think that has made it definitely manageable, and that's why we've been able to grow and do.
Yeah, I would say, because since I've been in the role of CEO for the last 10 years and Aimee's been in her role of COO, we haven't had any turnover or change in the executive director level leadership leading our programs or communities, which is great. Now we're bracing ourselves.
Wait, can we pause on that? That's remarkable. With everything all the movement we see, around the field with, retirements is one piece of it, but people transitioning to different roles, the fact that you've had that stability really is remarkable.
And we're going to knock on wood right now.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You're about to get some.
And we went we really went 8 years without having any of my direct senior level changes either. And what precipitated those was retirement.
Yeah.
And so now in the last 2-3 years, we've had to replace some people, but it's all been really retirement or, unforeseen circumstances that couldn't change. It wasn't for people leaving by choice, which it's great because you know how it is to onboard people, and especially in senior level positions or leaders of your communities. I mean, we talk about it takes a full year to even for people to grasp really the scope of their full job responsibilities. So that has helped us be able to look at strategic growth opportunities and that type of thing, because we have such great people running the day to day. And plus, let Aimee handle most of the issues. I like having her be the, I like being good cop. She's bad cop.
You like being bad
I
cop?
love that role.
Yeah, you're good at it.
Well, I had her role for a few years, yeah. And, before that, it was HR. I mean, that's always thought of as bad cop. So I like being in a spot that I can be a good cop.
He does still play HR occasionally. That has not left occasionally.
Yeah. It's important. I'm HR in my organization, and that's terrifying.
Yeah.
Yes, every once in a while I'm like, I am HR. Oh, oops. I should maybe dial that back a little bit.
Yeah. The value of HR has increased though, now compared to when I started in the industry, and it wasn't really thought of as being that critical or important. Definitely has shifted in the last few years. We know that.
So many people in our field, are feeling, they're feeling traumatized or they're feeling burnt out, with everything that's happened the past few years. You two seem pretty happy, but how do you keep doing? I know you mentioned earlier, Lee, the people. How do you keep doing the work beyond your love of the people that you work with and that you are working around? How do you just keep showing up in this easy sector? Yeah, Aimee.
Yeah, I mean, we've all experienced burnout. I'm coming out of it now, and I am pretty happy now, which is amazing because I didn't think that transition was actually going to happen. Like there were definitely times where I was like, ooh, am I going to do this? Like, can I make it? How much longer can I do this? But thankfully, I'm not sure what happened, but I did come out of it. But I think the thing is with our leadership is they were traumatized too. So I think we've been really careful to not push too hard, like really reading where they are and what we can get done. Because, sure, we want to get all these technology implemented. We want to do all these things, but it's like, okay, like, let's do what we can, but like, let's not sink the ship. So I think reading where people are, because it's important, and they are traumatized. But I think all of our team majority are they're on the other side now, so I think it's good. But it was definitely balancing, our initiatives and objectives on what they could handle at the time.
Aimee, how do you think you've gotten out of it?
I don't know. Lee bought me a cup the other day that said "hot mess." It was like, so I guess I've been a hot mess. I don't know. So that was she was like, "Happy birthday, Merry Christmas." And, it was
a play on an Hermes logo. And instead of Hermes, it said hot mess.
Now that is funny.
So I guess I've been a hot mess, and that's how I've got out of it. So I don't know.
Was your wake up call? You looked at it like, oh, I don't want this to be me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that all it takes? Is a mug for
I was out shopping and I saw that, and I'm like, the first person I thought of is Aimee. I'm like, here, I got to get this for her.
Oh my gosh. Well, that says a lot about your relationship right there.
And she laughed. She thought it was funny. She said, oh, I got to send this to my husband to show him a picture.
And he wrote back and said, I have no idea what she's talking about. You are not a hot mess.
Yeah. I think, honestly, though, I think it's been the excitement about some of the new projects and things that we're doing, because we have always, I don't know, don't like to be bored ever. And so I think it's the excitement around that, and the focus that has brought us through this. And things are better in general.
I think we've also allowed each other to have a bad day and be able to show it and not feel like we have to hide it, especially down here in the home office. I mean, I think Aimee can tell we've worked together 15 years. She can tell when it was not a good day for me, and just likewise for her. And it's okay to say, this sucks. This is just not this. I'm not feeling it, and having that permission to be honest with each other that it's just not a good day really helps versus, in some work environments where people feel like they have to put on a front at all times. And I don't feel that way with anybody that works in the office right around us. We can be ourselves, which is a great just comfort.
Yeah, that's awesome. So when you think about kind of the future of the field and, the workforce crisis that we're in and, continuing to have such stability in leadership, but then also trying to continuously develop new leaders, what are your approaches to what's happening on the people side, on the workforce side? What's working? What do you still see as challenges for you?
I mean, we're doing everything everyone else is doing as well. I think one of the big things for us, though, was that we were able to develop a CNA program at 2 of our life plan communities. We call it the Earn to Learn program. And it's individuals who could not otherwise afford, who want to be nursing assistants. So they've come into our program. We teach them, we train them, and they serve as CNAs and work for us. So that has been 2 of our communities that has been really helpful. We are not short on CNAs, and plus it's helped also recruit dining services and housekeeping people who want to advance their career. So we've done that, but all the vocational students, I think, really getting into the high schools young. I think we've done that over the years. And before COVID, we really started to do that. So in all of our communities, we definitely have a relationship with the high schools and with young individuals and trying to introduce aging services as this is a career path. So we find that if you introduce it early, they think about it. It may go on to college, may not, may go into, some trade, but introducing that early. So we have tried to do that in all the communities that we're in.
And then what about on the leadership side when you look at, having to continuously develop people and especially, you mentioned, you think everybody's coming out of the burnout, but there's a resiliency factor that has to be built in now, I think, for leadership capacity. How are you approaching that?
Well, I think we do a lot of, we send a lot of people through leadership programs, whether it's through PACE, Leading Age National, Leading Age Virginia, of course, that, Leading Age North Carolina. So I definitely think we do that. I don't know that there may have been 1 year that's gone by, but generally someone is in some sort of learning capacity. The other day, Lee and I were talking about national and, some candidates. So we're always thinking about that. But I think our locations know too, like mentoring the person that's not behind them, but maybe reports to them. So we are looking at leadership transitions, and we look at that for a long time. It's yes, we have a good leader here. We want them to know as much as they can about not only their role, but other roles. So we do a lot of that kind of early on when we see someone who has potential and giving them opportunities.
Yeah. And how do you keep developing yourself as leaders? Or are you?
I don't think the last couple years have been a little busy. So I don't know. I don't know what kind of leadership develop except for, okay, I guess we're stronger for it. I don't know. But so lately I have not done a lot. I don't know about Lee.
Well, I think we both, and I encourage the senior leaders, we participate in, the various conferences. We try to divide and conquer a little bit with different conferences and industry events so that we're getting exposed to as much as possible. But I think, as much as the education that's provided at Leading Age conferences or, Ziegler or whoever's putting on a event or whatever, it's also a time to refresh because you get to see colleagues and connect and find out informally what people are doing. So I think that helps keep us develop, with our leadership development, but also keeps us having a kind of reprieve and kind of can connect with other colleagues and, get ideas and that type of thing, and also commiserate when things aren't going so well. I also am part of a CEO peer group that meets on an annual basis, which helps as well. So to have a support group out there of peers that you can lean on as well for advice is of help. But I think, we both, as much as we can, Aimee and I try to attend different events to stay up to date on what's going on in the field, and so that we're aware of new opportunities that may come about for our field. So much is changing so quickly, and trying to keep up with that.
Did you all have good mentors when you were in the early days of your careers? And if so, what was good about it? What helped in those mentoring relationships?
Go ahead, Aimee.
I did. I had a great mentor. And I worked with her. Then I did my AIT with her, and then she passed of breast cancer very young, which was very hard. But yes, I respected her and learned so much from her. And she actually probably was the single person that told me I could do this. And so I owe a lot to her, and I miss her. And I wish she was still here, because for the early years of leadership development, she was there, and I would call her, even though I was not working with her in the organization. But yeah, she was a wonderful lady, and I do miss her. Yeah.
I would say, starting off in the career, my core mentor was the person that hired me, who actually, I worked for him, then I worked with him, and then he worked for me before he retired 2 years ago. So it was an interesting relationship all the way around. But I think his work ethic and his how he handled situations and things really taught me a lot. And he was easy to go bounce ideas off of, or difficult decisions. Even when he was then working for me in the position that he was in, it was, I could go up to him and say, I'm not sure about this. So it's good to have people that you can talk to candidly. So
yeah, I was just at a women in leadership conference or retreat a couple weeks ago, and we spend a fair amount of time talking about what challenges are unique to women in the workplace. And do you have any thoughts on, is there anything unique to being women in our field or in the workplace in general? I mean, you are a female-led organization, so the dynamics might be a little bit different, but just curious on your thoughts about that.
I think things are changing, and I don't know now that it's so different than it was. I do recall a time maybe 15 years ago. I got up bright and early to go to the it was executive directors and CEOs morning breakfast, and I was very confident, and I walked in and I looked around the room and I was like, ooh, I am not in the right room, because it was an entire room of middle-aged men, and I almost walked out of that room. Thank goodness Pat Sprigg from North Carolina walked in, and she sat down, and I didn't know at the time, and she said, "Welcome to the men's club," and she sat right down.
Sounds like her.
Yeah, and I died laughing. But I don't find that now, and I think the statistics are changing. But I don't find it. Maybe it's a problem, but I'm not totally aware of it. I'm not.
No, I do think it's changed over time. I do remember when I was promoted to CEO, the number of women, there weren't that many of them, but that were female CEOs in our industry within North Carolina or nationally, that knew me or knew of me and knew the organization, actually personally reached out to congratulate me and give me advice. One even sent me a book, the book, Sabbath or whatever, to make sure, that I read it and took time for myself. So I think, I do think female leaders in this industry, we've grown, but we've all been supporting each other so that we can grow and we can increase the numbers that make it to the leadership levels. So
What do you think about other areas of diversity, equity, inclusion when we think about, the need for different races, ethnicities, LGBTQ plus, all of that? So are you focused? I mean, I know you are focused on DE and I and what is the intentionality around that, and how are you trying to move the needle in that area?
Well, I think it's something that we're all aware of and cognizant of and it's tough in our industry, as you know, especially, I think there's more opportunity on the employment side. It's been a little bit tougher on the life plan community side to get actual residents. That's just a whole different can of worms. But yeah, I think, we look for the best candidate. And if we have the opportunities, to bring somebody in with a diverse background, regardless of what it may be, LGBTQ or a racial diversity or age or, gender or whatever. I know at one point, I looked around and we seemed, because you look at Aimee and me, and almost all my direct reports were now female, so that's all the senior leaders except for two. And so, when we're hiring, I was like, it's kind of odd, but we really probably need to make sure that, we're looking for a male candidate too. So we're not all female led, because I think diversity, you need that perspective regardless of, what area of diversity you're looking for. So I think it's being really aware of it. Leading Age North Carolina is doing, through their foundation, a lot of series coming up this current year on diversity. And I guess it was 2 months ago, they had a CEO and board chair workshop intentionally for that. And I was pleased because our board chair agreed to go with me and everything. I think it was good to get a board member to actually go to education about it in our field as well, to hear it firsthand. So we continue as they work through the series this coming year. I plan to make sure that we're engaged and have people attending those sessions as well, depending on who they're targeted towards.
So what's around the corner for EveryAge? You talked about Aimee just being excited about new opportunities. What can you preview for us?
Well, I'll start with one, then I'll let Aimee go with another, because we have a couple ones that we're working on. We've been working to look towards developing a rental, independent living only community that, you can say targets middle market. It's probably going to be a little bit higher end. It would be more affordable than our life plan communities for sure. But we're looking at developing that in Hickory, North Carolina, which is about 20 miles from our home office and our largest life plan community, but it would be in a downtown, more urban setting. And so hopefully we'll see we have the construction documents, and we're waiting on pricing right now. So we'll have to see where the pricing and interest rates and everything go to see if we can actually, move forward with the project in 2023 or not. But fingers crossed that that'll be come to fruition. So we're excited about that. And
will there be a service component, Lee? Like, will there be like service coordination as people age in place in that independent living?
Yeah, and we would plan to have a contract with our home care agency at Abernathy Laurels, our life plan community, that already has that license in place, so that if people needed additional services, they could access them, especially, as we know, may not be the year that they move in, but people tend to stay, and then over time, yeah, they may need that. So that would definitely be something that we would want to be able to offer as part of our mission and service to that community. So we're looking forward to hopefully that being a prototype that we could replicate in the future. So we've already named that project to go with our EveryAge name, but that kind of line, if we're able to replicate it, would be called BellaAge. So beautiful age. So this would be BellaAge Hickory. So hopefully that's a sneak preview. We haven't really made that public. So there you go, Melissa.
I love it. I love it.
You get that too. So anyway, so that's one project that's exciting. Like I said, there's still a lot more work to be done. And we know with the economic times, it's a little turbulent. Doesn't mean if we decide it's not a go in 2023 that we don't, just put it on hold for a bit. We did buy the property, so we can hold the property if we need to. And decide at a later time if we want. But
Well, I love it because after working for 2 years on our middle market playbook, to hear that, an organization like EveryAge is looking to do, I mean, that's what we talked about in it was.
We did use that playbook when we were early on. Yes, we purchased it and we downloaded the stuff and we've used it for ideas and to help. So yes.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I should have mentioned that. That's good.
I'm so happy to know that. So no, that's my job as the interviewer, is to really pull that thread more so that you could give me accolades.
Yes, so thank you, Leading Age Virginia and Melissa, for putting that together. But yeah, we did use it and we found it helpful. So, we didn't go exactly buy it and the product won't be just like it, but it did make us think through things, which was very helpful. So,
right.
Aimee,
what else?
We'll find out how this product when it's developed, but I hope we did think things through good. We'll find out though, because it is the first for us, so that's exciting. But I think also we're expanding our PACE communities, and we are looking. Well, we are in the process of architectural design in New Bern, North Carolina. And this is exciting because that area of North Carolina is completely underserved. It is really lacks services. So the city of New Bern and area leaders are really excited for us to come. We've been trying to go to New Bern for about 7 years now. So we finally, received the go-ahead from North Carolina. And so we're developing a PACE program there.
And we do have one of our affordable housing communities is located in New Bern, and our director of housing services actually works out of New Bern. So that kind of gives us a good, foundation. And that's one of the reasons that area interested us, in addition to what Aimee said, that Eastern North Carolina, parts of it are really lacking services. So we think that could be a big benefit.
Are you using partnerships with other organizations as you develop your PACE sites?
We did not, because it comes under the original PACE site, and that would be a change of ownership, and it gets very complicated with CMS. So the quickest route for expansion is to maintain the original PACE number and organization. But we definitely, when we talk about partnerships, we are looking at doing some different services. We don't have them all spec'd out yet in Eastern North Carolina, but we are working with other providers and people who need assistance. And so we may do something different, a little different, because there are a lack of services there. So we are working with community agencies to see how we can fill different gaps.
Little known fact about New Bern, North Carolina, that may or may not have been the first time that Todd Andrews spoke to me and realized that he was going to be my forever husband. I think it all started in New Bern, North Carolina. Right. Yeah, in case you need to know that.
Yeah. And what were you doing in Leading Age? Were you at Leading Age North Carolina or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, they had a couple years where they had meetings there. So
yeah, might have been at a bar.
Just might have.
Where else?
I'm sure you all were there.
Possibly.
So let me ask this question. If you were giving advice to your younger self, just starting out in this field, what advice would you give you?
Oh, geez.
Oh.
I don't know. You go, Lee.
Yeah, I don't, Aimee started by saying how she got into this industry.
Yeah,
I didn't really say that. I tell you, honestly, people ask me that all the time, and it's kind of embarrassing to say, but I mean, I was fresh out of school and my parents told me I needed a job. So I was applying for anything that I could find that was somewhat related to my field. And my undergraduate degree was healthcare management. When I did my internship through a hospital, I loved working in human resources. So I was like, okay, I need to find a job in human resources. And if it could be in healthcare, that would be a bonus. So I'm just, those days mailing out as many resumes as I could. Yeah. And I got contacted by Retirement Community in Newton, North Carolina. And I didn't even know where Newton was. I grew up in Raleigh, so I went to school at Appalachian in Boone, which was on the western side of the state, closer to Newton, but I had no idea. So I was like, well, I guess I'll go for the interview. And my mom said when they offered me the job, and I'm like, I don't know about living in Newton. I don't, and she's like, honey, it's better to have a job or to get a job if you have a job. So take this job, get as much experience as you can, do the best job that you can, and then you can look for other opportunities if you're not happy, but you'll have an easier advantage. And so, well, so that's what I did. And then 25 years later, I'm still here. So first advice would be definitely don't ignore your mother's advice. When you're in your early 20s, you may not think they're that wise, but when you get older, you'll look back and say, wow, my mom was really smart to give me that advice, because I would not be where I am today. The second thing I think goes back to what you were asking us earlier. I think if you can find people who can support you in your professional career and be sounding boards is really important. And I probably didn't have enough of that in my younger years that I wish I would have. I'm more of an introvert, so just getting out, putting yourself out there and reaching out to people. I think professionals are more willing to help, especially in our field, than people realize. And young people should just go forward and contact people and say, can you help me? Can you give me advice? Because I think all of us would be willing to give anybody in our field advice. So, or in time. Okay, Aimee, your turn.
Okay, well, I was thinking I would tell myself it will be okay. And when I mean that it'll be okay is because anytime there was crisis or something that was not good, I lost a lot of sleep. I sleep really well now because you can only control what you can control. And, when you have crisis or you have, a bad experience, something did not go well, you can do what you can react afterwards, but you can't fix the previous. So go to bed. It's okay. Do the best you can and go to sleep.
And I agree with Aimee. We talk about that some because I think you can get things go wrong in any field, and definitely in our field. And you can get yourself so worked up and twisted up about what coulda, shoulda been done. And it's more important to just let that go and focus on what you can change. So if there's things that we can improve upon so that something doesn't happen again, then focus the energy on that. Don't waste your time beating yourself up for something that didn't go exactly right. Focus on how you can make it go right in the future. And like Aimee said, she and I both like to sleep. So we joke about that here because a lot of people say, oh, I have so much trouble falling into sleep. Me and her are like, nope, we like to sleep. We work hard during the day, but when it's nighttime, we're both like,
Love that. I'm not a good sleeper, so I'm a little bit jealous right now. I do have a couch in my office, but we don't use it for sleeping.
yeah.
A little power nap every once in a while.
We had to take couches out of all of these offices.
Hey, listen, studies say if you lay down for 20 minutes in the middle of the day, that actually helps. It's better than coffee, right? I think.
Right.
So last question, unless there's something I didn't ask you that you wished I had, was I know what you are, thank you for sharing what you have going on at EveryAge and what's coming up. But when you think about the next, 10, 20 years of our field of aging services, what do you think? Are you hopeful? Are you cautious? How do you feel about the future of the sector in which we work?
I'm hopeful. Go ahead, Lee.
I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm very optimistic about the opportunities that abound. I mean, the demographic trends and that type of thing. Little bit hesitant on, the for-profits nipping at our heels and taking over, but competition's not necessarily bad. But my bigger caution is really the workforce. And, are we going to have not just the number of people to care for older adults going forward, but the quality of individuals who really have the heart for caring for older adults in the future. So, but, they say the Gen Z and are kind of more about, purpose and that type of thing. So there might be hope in that area if we can just attract them. Of course, they're also going to be looking for a lot more money and flexibility and that type of thing too. So, Aimee, what do you think?
Glass half full. I think I'm hopeful, and I think technology is going to help us with some of the workforce. I mean, I don't know what the future looks like, but I think it's going to be very different. So I'm hopeful that technology will fill some of that void. But I do think the field will change very quickly. And will look a lot different in 10 years. Than maybe even look like 10 years ago to today. I think 10 years from now, it's going to be very different.
And I think there's
and hopefully in a good way.
Yeah, and I think there's huge opportunity for our sector going forward to target, especially life plan communities, with what they offer for older adults who never had children or never got married. I mean, I'm speaking from my own vantage point there because I don't have children. I'm not married, but even married couples who chose or were unable to have children, they're going to look for a plan of how am I going to be cared for, because we are all living longer. And so preparing for the possibility that you might live to 90 or 100 and may not be able to do it without some support. I think we offer a lot of skills and knowledge to be able to really provide the services that those people need within our communities or in their own homes. If we get creative and use technology and figure out a way to have enough people to do it. So.
Well, and for your organization, as you remain focused on serving older adults throughout the socioeconomic strata, right? Like you're really diversifying to meet the needs of so many different populations within that older adult demographic. I mean, you are well positioned for a bright and thriving future. Your board must be thrilled.
Yeah, and that's really, you said it just right, that this providing services to the broad range of the socioeconomic spectrum has been a long-standing vision and goal of this organization. And that's kind of even our life plan communities, because we're more rural or secondary markets, are on the more affordable spectrum than, you know, some of our colleagues that are just in the more urban, more populated markets. So we really try to have service accessible to as many people as possible. So, and we keep trying to come up with ways to do that. So.
Sounds like you are successfully coming up with ways to do that. And I just appreciate your support of Leading Age Virginia, and I'll speak for them in North Carolina. That guy, Tom Akins, I know how much you do for them, and just Leading Age National. We're just so lucky to have you in the membership, and just love seeing how EveryAge is evolving under your leadership. So thank you for taking time to talk to me today.
Well, thank
you for having us.
Yeah, it was fun.
See?
In a sort of painful kind of way. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just playing with you.
That's going to be when we do the notes, the description of the show. It'll be like, it was kind of fun in a sort of painful kind of way.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to sum up Voices in Leadership podcast.
Yeah.
So until next time, thank you, Aimee. Thank you, Lee.
Thanks.
Another fun one.
It was. Yeah. What did you think?
Well, I mean, I've known Aimee and Lee for so long because when I was at Leading Age National, back when we were ASA and I was a regional vice president, North Carolina was one of my states. And then, you know, I was on the search committee when Tom Akins was hired in North Carolina. So I have a long standing relationship with them. And then coming into this role, you know, Judy Reimann, who's the executive director of their Virginia campus, Lake Prince Woods, she was on the search committee for me. And so I just, and I've been to their foundation event. I've been to an anniversary event. I've spoken in front of their board. So I have a long relationship with them. And so it was neat though, to be able to learn more about them as individuals, but I'm also just so blown away by EveryAge as an organization, what they have built under their leadership.
That's one thing. The other thing is, I mean, the stability of their leadership team and everybody else as well. That's amazing, truly amazing. But yeah, the things that they've built, yes, I am very happy that they're trying to do the rentals for seniors, and I think it's great. Yes, I wish we could have more here in Virginia, somebody looking at that more, but yeah, that was really cool. And even the PACE, doing a lot more with the PACE, I think that's great to come under the umbrella of, you know, one of the communities, or the organizational community. So I think that's really, really good.
Yeah, and I love them talking about just the demographic changes in leadership, what they've seen in their time in our field, and you know, their advice to their younger selves. And they sleep well, which I'm 100% jealous of.
Me too.
I know you are. I know you are. We need to take their advice.
I
We
think
need
I
to
need to
learn.
read the book Sabbath. I have never read it, so I've
Oh,
got
you
to read it.
haven't? It's
No.
on my shelf. I'll bring
Okay,
it.
I'll pull it. I'll pull it.
Well, thank you, Paula. This was a fun one.
This way, good. Thanks.